Hello, Maikako, and good afternoon. Mahalo for joining today's AEN hearing. It's Monday, April 15th, 2024, and we're convened in room 225 and video conferencing, which includes the audio and video of remote participants that's being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that this hearing is cut short, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on April 16th at 3:45 p.m. and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. Because of our 90-minute time limit for hearings, there'll be a 2-minute time limit for testifiers, and we'll have a virtual countdown timer on our Zoom screen. So we have 3 items on the 2:15 agenda. First is Governor's Message 678, submitting for consideration and confirmation of the Endangered Species Recovery Committee gubernatorial nominee Lindsay Young for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And first up to testify is Department of Land and Natural Resources on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, that's Kate
Here we
Cullison.
are. Sorry, that's me. My name is Kate Cullison. I work for Division of Forestry and Wildlife. I'm here representing the department in support of this nominee.
Oh. Okay. Thank you, Kate. We also have Daniel Gluck in support and Deborah Sisman in support.
Years old.
Anyone else wishing to testify on GM 678? Members, any questions? And there we have our nominee, Lindsay Young. Aloha, Lindsay. Would you like to make a statement?
Sure. Aloha kako. Thank you for the nomination for this committee, and been committed to conservation in Hawaii for the last 20 years, focusing primarily on seabirds, and have been involved in a variety of state and federal committees and have more or less dedicated my career towards furthering endangered species research and conservation in the state. So it's an honor to be here, and I am looking forward to serving on the committee.
Thank you, Lindsay. Members, any questions? I just one question. Lindsay, what has been your most challenging experience during your time working with conserving Hawaii's endemic and endangered species?
I think I can probably speak for most people in this field, and it's remaining hopeful. So Hawaii has the largest number of endangered species in the country and typically does not get the lion's share of funding for that. And so it can seem really daunting to overcome a lot of those challenges. But I think what gives me hope and what helps us to keep on going is we know what we need to do. The solutions are there. We need to implement them at scale. And to do that requires political will and funding. And so I think it is a bright spot, actually. It's really an opportunity to do a really large and high level impact in a relatively small area. So it's both a challenge and an opportunity, but I think I share that feeling with a lot of other folks in this field.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. And if it's okay with the members, instead of waiting at the very end, we'll just go nominee by nominee here. Sure. In terms of decision making. So on GM 678, the chair's recommendation will be to advise and consent. Any discussion? Chair votes aye. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And GM 678, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Coit, aye, Senator Rhodes, aye. And Senator Awaz excused. Chair, you have 4 in favor. Motion is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. And thank you, Lindsay, for stepping forward. We'll move on to GM 694, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Board of Agriculture, gubernatorial nominee Nathaniel Oswald for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And first to testify is the Department of Ag.
Afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture, standing on our submitted testimony in support of Nathaniel Oswald's nomination. Nathaniel has been in agriculture all of his life. He is a farmer. He's been an irrigation worker with the Molokai system. He's familiar with that. He's a Molokai representative to the Farm Bureau. In addition, the creme de la creme, so to speak, is that he's had a pesticide operator's license for 10 years. That only adds to his knowledge of agriculture operations and to his qualifications to serve as a Board of Ag member. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support.
Thank you, Sharon. Next is Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau is down on its written support and strong support, or written testimony and strong support.
Okay,
It's nominated.
thank you. And then we have a number of others who are also in support. All of these are in support. Don Picoy from Molokai Farm Bureau, Nicole Galassi from the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council, Robert Stevenson from Molokai Chamber of Commerce, Larry Jeffs from Larry Jeffs Farm, and Danny Kapachoy from Hawaii Crop Improvement Association, Lon Peressa, Randy Cabral, Michael Muzelinski, Alex Redeker, Denise Nokon, Jay Ashman, Ted Oswald, and Vicki Oswald, all in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on GM 694? Members, are there any questions?
You're the candidate first.
Okay, well, let's just go with Mr. Oswald. Would you like to make a statement at this point? And then,
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. It's good to see all of you. Hi, Lynn. I suppose before I start it, I'm quite humbled on the amount of support. That's pretty amazing. So thank you to everyone who has submitted that. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just ready to get to work. I'm kind of one of those guys that kind of started from the ground and worked my way up. I have a lot of experience getting my hands dirty, and I'm excited for this opportunity to help guide Hawaii and agriculture into the future. Thank you.
okay. Nate, what is your top priority for improving ag in the state? The top of the list.
Top of the list. Well, there's probably 300 of those top of the list. You know, I think when I think back on our discussion the other day, it always starts with our youth. Everything starts with youth. Water, our resources, the island itself, and the youth is the most important resource we have for agriculture to thrive into the future. We need to enable and encourage and empower our youth.
Okay. Members, are there any questions?
Yeah, sure.
Senator Richards.
Yeah, thank you. You know, Mr. Oswald, looking at your list of supporters, that's a who's who in agriculture in the state. So I commend you on that. Obviously, you have a broad reach. Touching on Chair's question, what do you think is our greatest opportunity and what do you think is our greatest challenge? So first, opportunity for agriculture, not just Molokai. I'm stoked that you're on Molokai right now, but what is the statewide greatest opportunity and statewide greatest challenge?
Yeah. Creating pathways. They can be construed as an opportunity, as a challenge, but agriculture has kind of taken the wayside over the years. It had a strong presence for better or for worse. And over the years, it's kind of, you know, it's shrunk. And I think the biggest opportunity is not only to, you know, it's the first priority is to encourage local growth. We need to support people who are here, feet on the ground, people who are native to their lands, and support them into improving and increasing the amount of local produce, whether that be ranching or tomatoes, whatever it is. But we also need to shore up our imports. I mean, it doesn't make sense to cut off what we already have. We need, you know, to me, more food is always better. So I see them both as a challenge and an opportunity.
Okay, follow up, Chair.
Sure.
You know, you talked about our youth. From your perspective, FFA, is this the path or a path to help us get that youth?
Oh, it's absolutely a path. It's not going to be easy. You know, I work with a lot of young folks. I've been working with the youth in farming for over 25 years, and even my own kids, and my kids are all born and raised around Molokai. And, you know, my youngest daughter, was working with me 2 weeks into a project. We're in the hot sun, we're dirty. You know, we've gone through probably 2 gallons of water, and I'm fine. You know, I'm in my element. But she said to me, she's like, Dad, why'd you choose this job? And I kind of laughed and thought she was kind of being a silly young teenage kid and didn't know anything, right? And I soaked on it and I thought about it. And kids today are not the same people that we were. They have more technology at their fingertips. They're just cut a little bit different. And so FFA is an option, but I do believe we need to also lean on technologies and other resources and be creative. You know, we need to generate some excitement. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
It does. And Chair, thank you. I'm going to let it go, but I look forward to working with you. Really do. Thank you.
Sure.
Senator DeCoy.
Sure, thank you. Hey, hi, Nate. I don't have a question for you. I basically have accolades for you. You know, Nate is a very hard worker. He works from sun up to sundown, round the clock. He knows his stuff. He does everything from community events to contributions to fishing tournaments and taking away our invasive fish out of the ocean. He works with a lot of the kids and he does a lot of educational programs. On another note, the support that he's gotten from many of the different farmers and people on Molokai is because of the person that he is. But I want to just make for note, Chair, full disclosure, he's that good, which is why I need to say he does work for my husband. So full disclosure, Chair. But thank you, Nate, for wanting to serve, because I know that you have a lot more other things to do along with the other community events and programs that you work with on Molokai. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so we'll go ahead and do decision-making, the chair's recommendation. And thank you, Nate, for stepping forward to serve. Chair's recommendation will be to advise and consent. Any discussion?
Chair.
Chair votes aye. Vice
Chair. Chair.
Okay.
Do I have to recuse myself from the vote?
I don't think so.
I don't
No.
think so. No, because it's a greater good.
Yeah. We're good.
Really specific, so.
No, that's right. Yeah, but just on, I think I should. It's too close.
Yeah, just in
So
case.
yeah, I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. It is.
Okay.
So Chair votes aye.
Yeah, the chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator DeCoy is going to be excused. Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
And Senator Law is excused. Chair, you have 3 in favor. Motion is adopted.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
thank you very much. Aloha, congrats, Nate. Thanks again. And then we'll move on to the final measure on the 215 agenda, GM 646, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Advisory Committee on Pesticides. Gubernatorial nominee Ching Lee for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And let's see, we have Department of Ag and Support. There he is.
Chair, members of the committee, Vice Chair, the Department of Agriculture is standing on its written submitted testimony in support. The nominee has a wide, long, deep experience in this topic of pesticides. We've worked together before, and we hope you will consider accepting the nomination and passing advise and consent. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. Next is Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. We'll stand on our testimony supporting the nominee.
Okay, thank you. And then Randy Cabral is in support, and Parwinder Grewal, the Dean of CTAR, is also in support. Okay, Mr. Lee, would you like to make a statement?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, potential opportunity to serve. I'm very much honored. I've been in this working on pesticide for more than 30 years, almost 40 years. And this will be the third term that I serve on the same committee. I did it like 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. So there are many issues. I consider Hawaii as my home. I have never been in one place longer than being in Hawaii and Honolulu. I will try to work with committee members and then state to address the most critical issues to help Hawaii to better understand pesticides and to analyze the pros and cons of pesticides and how to use pesticide wisely to increase my agricultural production. Thank you for the opportunity and really appreciate that I be able to contribute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So questions, I'll start off with Mr. Lee, in your questionnaire, you said that you want to propose solutions for invasive species control. What do you see as the most pressing invasive species issue currently, and how would you solve it?
I see this. I see it's a balance. It's a matter of balance. So in Hawaii, we have many endangered species. We have many invasive species. How do we use a chemical pesticide to control the invasive species, but not harm endangered species? And do we have another tools? How many tools are in our toolbox? Those kind of things that we do need. We need to control the invasive species. We need to protect endangered species. And those are the things that we need. And another thing is, can we introduce new chemistry? There are new chemicals, safer and more effective. Those are the things we do need to consider and see if we can, have a more effective solution to solve the problems.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Senator Richards.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Lee. I appreciate the fact that you've served before. And I also fascinated by the work that currently now you are with neuroscience, and many of our pesticides are neurologically affecting. And so I think you bring a very interesting perspective. When you talk about taking care of our endangered while working on our invasive and trying to strike that balance, recognizing how we go forward. I think you're bringing a facet of pesticide use that we seriously need to look at, because we are unique. We have so many endangered species, but we also have some challenges. And I like your approach talking about how do we enhance agricultural production while being very sensitive to the environmental needs. And I think that's what it's not been missing, but having someone with your credentials to reinforce that, I think is fascinating. I look forward to actually talking with you at a later time because I'd love to pick your brain on this. No question, just comments. And thank you, Dr. Lee, for stepping forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We can grab hamburger. I mentioned to Center another day. We can grab hamburger after busy season.
Sounds very good.
Senator DeCoy.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Lee, we talk about invasive species a lot, and many people just do not like the word pesticide, chemicals. It's a sour taste in our mouth. It's affected people's health. Just having to deal and have the individual having to handle it has been a problem. In my areas, coqui frog is a huge problem. We use citric acid to treat coqui frogs. And again, even citric acid isn't as safe as we'd want it to be. What are some of the other solutions aside from burning, quarantining plants and other things that are coming into an island would you recommend doing to stay as far away from pesticides as possible?
Yeah, this is a topic I have heard of, but I have not personally performed the technical research in my lab. There are many solutions. Caffeine, for example, I know it's quite toxic to coffee frog. There are others like attractant chemicals. There are another quarantine. Once the invasive species is here, quarantine it may not be effective for this location. It will be effective to prevent it spread it out to other places. It's one of the most effective techniques for sure. Yes, we do need one of the important thing I do think that I'm a teacher, so I think we need to train the next generation of scientists and engineers to have to increase workforce quality, and that's should we really need to focus. For me, at least, we need to train next generation. I more prefer to train PhD students to take the lead and to advance technology and science and to be able to solve the solution.
So Mr. Lee, with that being said, I totally agree to train the next generation, but how do you educate the public while we're trying to train the next generation? Because, we're trying to combat invasive species as well as grow food. So what is the best way do you think we can help to educate the communities who don't understand, the scientific levels that you guys talk about in safety and what is safe and to what levels of reentry? I mean, if you can just list one thing that you think would be beneficial at that level.
You brought up a critical point. We really need education. We need to have public aware of what truly pesticides are. There are benefits and a risk as well. If pesticide use is a balance of benefit and risk. It's a balanced thing. And another thing, there are new pesticides coming up. And then we may not need to use the old ones, the more toxic. The new ones that developed through the technology innovation and hopefully made it safer and more effective. And I hope I partially answer your question. It's a very complicated issue. That you are exactly right. Many of us do not need to know what pesticides are and even what chemicals are. For example, you and I, we all are chemicals, made of chemicals. We need to, fully understand. Another thing is how to use it effectively, not misuse. More often, the problem occurred from misuse, and we may use it more than we need.
I think what I'm going to do, Mr. Lee, because I know we're short on time, but I think what I'm going to do is you and I are going to sit down over on salad and have a longer conversation about this. But thank you, Chair.
Another day, I give Senator a homework. I need to give you homework. Then you recommend students come to work with us. I will support it with graduate assistantship.
I would love to do that because I don't like to use pesticides as well. Thank you, Chair.
I had one other question, Professor, and that is that when I was growing up, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, my dad was in the Air Force. And at that time, mid-50s, once a week or so, a Jeep would come around spraying this malaria. I mean, not for mosquitoes, mosquitoes, right? And we were told,
DDT.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that they banned DDT, I think in 1972. So we all would just run behind the truck and just go, yeah. And so my question is, Is the quality of pesticides overall, is it improving?
That's for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And I have to say the State Department of Agriculture, particularly pesticide branch, and working very hard to bring the new effective pesticides into a state. We're working very hard, I have to say. But the process, is a complicated process. Sometimes it does take time, and some of the old products we need to phase it out. So we phase it out. We let the new ones come in, and the new one come in. But we do need to do assessment. We will not just because of new we bring the new ones. New ones not necessarily safe to us, but we do need to have assessment. I do have to mention that pesticide branch folks are working very hard on this.
All right, thank you. So we'll just go ahead and do decision making. Again, thank you for continuing to serve our state, Mr. Lee. The chair's recommendation will be to advise and consent on 646. GM 646. Any more discussion? Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Coit.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes. Aye. Senator Awaz, it's you. Chair, you have 4 in favor. Motion is adopted.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the 2:15 agenda. Aloha.